Hey guys, here we go into a video on Marvin Cook and his true boxer stance and whether or not Larry Holmes used it or not. Now, my boxing theory at Fouts Boxing is that our boxing stance is dynamic. We don't have one stance. We have boxing positions, and you want to learn how to fight in all of these positions. And what do I mean here? So Marvin Cook's idea, pointing your shoulder to your opponent. When you do this, it's naturally going to bring your shoulder to the back foot and center your weight on the back foot. This is what's known as fighting on position 2 in my boxing theory and the way that I teach it. And that's going to be fighting on the back foot. This is only one of 4 positions in boxing that I teach. Fighting here, fighting in the neutral zone here, and then on the front foot. So there are 4 positions total, but for all intents and purposes, we call them anything on the back foot, position 2, anything on the front foot, position 1. But you need to learn how to fight here, and all the positions in between. You can't spend all your time trying to be in one position, right? Like Bruce Lee says, right? You're free-flowing, right? Dynamic, right? It's not, I don't know exactly how Bruce Lee says it. No fixed positions, right? Boxing is very similar, except that your position is going to be in relation to your opponent's position, okay? If your boxing theory suggests that you always be in one position here, no matter what your opponent is doing, you are going to get knocked out. 100%, you are going to get knocked out. And if you're not getting knocked out, and you're training like that, and you're fighting like that, it's because whoever sees your sparring and oversees who you get to work with is not letting you work with the people that are going to really hurt you. It's because you're being protected. So what we're going to talk about are the boxer stance. So the first thing we're going to look at, how he gets his weight here and what this theory means, okay? So Marvin Cook is suggesting that you're going to start here on this line here, right? Boom. His opponent's lead foot is going to be here. And what he's going to do, and the back foot is going to be here. There's a line. Let me redraw that. There's a line here. His foot is on it. His foot is on it. His foot is on it. And his foot is on it. And what he's looking to do is quickly step over and land a right hand while his opponent's line is still here. And he's looking to move over here. Now, what's happening here is he's creating a new line with his feet that's going to intersect his opponent, right? So now he has one foot on each side of his target, right? That's what he's looking to try to accomplish. But what he's not understanding, what he's missing here, is that his back foot doesn't need to be on this side of the line for him to achieve this. Now, the reason that he thinks that it does is because he wants to maintain this position at all times with the shoulder pointed forward at his opponent. So when he gets into this position, notice his front shoulder's not facing his opponent. So he's already broken his own rule, right? Now, that's not a reason to punish him, but it's a reason to reflect on the theory, right? So just think about it again as we move on. But what I want to show here is, and then what do you do after, right? What do you do after this position? You landed that shot, you're across the line. Now you're immediately going to try to find a way to get into this position with your shoulder forward, right? And we'll talk about this again too later. But what I want to show here is it this one? Larry Holmes getting on the line with this gentleman. Sorry, a little disorganized here. The clips are all different sizes for some reason. There we go. He's getting on the line with this gentleman, and he's not pointing his shoulder at his opponent. Okay? That's the first thing that I want to point out. But number 2, here's that line that Marvin Cook is suggesting is present. But notice, Larry Holmes' foot is not, both of his feet are not on that line, right? His opponent's feet are on that line, but that's because his opponent is going to look to cross the line. Right? So the idea here is that when you're standing directly in front of your opponent, that this is going to be the final position before attack. And that's what he's suggesting, is that from this position, there are no more positions to go through except jumping over with a feint or a jab and then shooting a right hand and crossing the line. Now, what's going to actually wind up happening, because, fighters back then, on average, were much better fighters than they were today. He's going to slip to the back foot, bring his weight this way. Where is he doing it? So look at him take this step here, okay? When he transfers his weight to the back foot, he's on the front foot here. Now see how he takes his weight to the back foot here, and he takes this step? This is how you move forward and attempt to cross your opponent's line. Now what's going to happen, he's going to continue trying to do this until he moves his head here, and then he shuffles forward, right? He's going to try to bring his back leg forward with him. Here, as you see, he makes the full attempt here to shuffle forward and get one foot on each of the side of his opponent's head, okay? And that's going to signal for him to have his opportunity to attack his opponent. But notice, Larry Holmes is not stationary, right? He's not waiting for his opponent to set this up. He's in motion. There's more going on than just the rhythm and the beat of what Leon Spinks is trying to do in the ring, right? But this is going to be how you move forward in the ring. Let me demo real quick. As you're moving forward across the line, you have your hands up, cross the line, and now your head is here. You're going to bring your back foot with you, but you're going to move forward as you continue to cross back, right? You're going to move back, and when your weight gets here, there's not going to be anything on your leg. So you're going to take a step forward and enter from the back of the line, right? And then once you get, let's say this line above my head is the line, right? It's my opponent's head. We meet on this line here. My opponent's on a similar position, right? I'm going to transfer my weight to the back foot like he was doing and take a step. And now I just have to learn how to fight here, control my opponent, and feint to open up enough space to allow me to cross to throw my right hand. Right? It's not that you need to shoot this punch and jump all the way across the line here. Right? That's not what you're trying to do. That's not how you cross the line. And that's what he's suggesting, is that you're going to get all the way here, but now what you've done is you've stepped inside your opponent's line, right? And now they're in a position on the other side here where they can just drop bombs on you. And you can't do anything. You're in the wheelhouse of all of their power. That exact place that Marvin Cook is shooting this jab and boom, boom, shooting this right hand, getting in this position that he's trying to set up, he's putting you in that position against your opponent as well, right? But you're setting yourself up to get there. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, let's continue watching a little bit of Larry Holmes. Because he doesn't actually use that bladed or boxer stance that he's talking about, right? If we notice, he looks to meet him with one shoulder on each side of his opponent's head, right? And that's going to allow him to use the left hand, right? And throw the left cross, okay? So he starts in a position where his shoulders are not pointed at his opponent, right? They're going more sideways or perpendicular, right, or parallel to his opponent's shoulders, right? But neither of their shoulders are pointed at each other. So when his opponent gets close enough, he can now blast forward with the cross and bring his shoulder forward, right? So I'm going to show you a little bit about what that looks like when you're watching Larry Holmes do it, okay? So this is the video that was sent to me as proof that he fights out of this position. It's just him throwing a bunch of jabs, okay? So he's throwing a bunch of jabs, and every time he throws his jab, his shoulder points at his opponent. But notice, before he throws those jabs, his shoulder is not always pointed at his opponent. Right here, he's very square, right? Looking to set up the right hand. He doesn't, after throwing the right hand, he doesn't immediately blast back and bring his shoulder, right, and get back to the true boxer stance. He stays there and he throws a left cross, right? But his shoulder is not continually pointed or aimed at his opponent. As you can see here, his shoulder is not pointed at his opponent, and he's going to throw a left hand. He's meeting his opponent on the line in this position, across the line, and then throwing a left hand. And then when he finishes throwing his left hand, he winds up in this position where his shoulder is pointed at his opponent, right? So the idea here is that Marvin Cook has taken the idea that you're going to meet your opponent on the line here in this position with this line, right? On this line, and both fighters' feet are going to be pointed at each other, waiting to cross the line, shotguns cocked, and then you're going to be looking to brain fire. How do I want to say this? Jump across the line, right? Or use your jab in this position to blast forward or jump across the line. So kind of, in theory, you have two jabs from his theory, where you're here on the line and off the line, or jumping to the side to throw the right hand. Now, it's neglecting the idea that you can just cross the line by taking a step and transferring your weight. But it's also neglecting the idea that you can do that and meet your opponent on the line in this position too. Because if you're always keeping your line here, your opponent's going to have a much easier time crossing you, right? Especially if your weight is on the back foot. But the whole reason that he was able to have, Larry Holmes was able to have an effective jab in the first place is because he could get his shoulders to this position so that he could defend the line with either hand. So that he could use his left cross and move off the line like this, but defending the line from here on the front foot, not just the back foot. And that's what made his cross so good. Even though when he would shoot the jab, this is the position he would end in, and he could peel off the line and move off, or he could shoot it here, and then move into a right hand, right, as he's going forward and back, right? He can do that, but again, this is still the ending position as it puts you on the back foot into a position to transfer your weight on the right foot, right? So you're here, boom, boom. But the fact that your shoulder is pointed at your opponent at the end of your jab as a position, right? The end of your jab position is not reflect on how you should theorize your entire boxing theory and your entire boxing philosophy, right? That this is the most efficient position to kind of constantly be battling for. Because we can see a little more in the video. What his opponent does to cross the line. As you can see, once he gets to the front foot, how do you battle that attack? How do you make an attack against this once your opponent is on the front foot without it being a trap, right? Do you just step in with that punch? Anyway, we're going to watch as Larry Holmes demonstrates that he's not using the boxer stance. He's not pointing his shoulder at his opponent. As you can see, his shoulders are square here. They're not pointed at his opponent. He shoots the jab, and now, because of the natural rotation of his shoulders and your body mechanics, he winds up in that boxer stance, the bladed stance. Now he's crossed the line. He's on the front foot. His opponent is moving with him, right? His opponent is moving with him. So his opponent moves to the front foot. He attacks the front foot. His opponent moves to the front foot. He doesn't do shit. I don't know. He moves to the front foot. Come on, do something, Larry Holmes. Control him with the lead hand a little bit. Control him, set up the right hand, catch him moving forward. But the idea is your stance is going to be dynamic and dependent on your opponent's positions as well. And you can see that he's not meeting Leon Spinks on the line in the same position every time, right? He's setting traps on the front foot, controlling the line with his right hand to make the cross. As you can see, when he lands this cross here, his shoulders don't start out in the bladed stance. They're parallel to his opponents in his opponent's own neutral stance or squared up stance. But again, he's not pointing his shoulder at his opponent. That's a a side effect of his technique. Now, here, he catches him with an excellent right hand as his opponent tries to cross his line, okay? So his opponent giving him that head movement, right? And again, that head movement is going to open up the ability for him to take those small steps to cross the line without him noticing. So he's crossing the line here, right? Look at their feet here real quick. Look at their feet, how he's going to try to, he's going to continue to move backwards to stop Leon Spinks from getting his leg across his leg too, right? Which again, gets you to cross the line, right? That means you cross the line, and then once you get one foot on the other side of your opponent's head, you'll be ready to throw a power shot. So that's what they're looking to set up. So what happens is Spinks is coming in on the back foot, he gets feinted, and he's trying to take that step. You can see his leg starts to open up here, but he doesn't anticipate that as he crosses the line and he's going to be bringing his weight forward, that Larry Holmes is going to be bringing his weight from the back foot to the front foot and meeting him with that position. So changing his position in the ring, right, to land this right hand. Now, I want to say that the interesting thing is that going back to look at Mr. Cook, he understands that in order to land a good right hand, he needs his target in this zone, right? And the reason that he has this theory and why you need to cross the line like this is because that's the easiest way for him to think that you can get your weight into this zone, right? Or get your head into this zone. He's not taking into account that you can just transfer your weight to the front foot. Now, this is very likely because he comes from martial arts background, and they don't often use their punches to transfer their weight to the front foot, right? If you leave your zone here like this, you bring your head over here, in martial arts, you're going to get kicked in the face or kneed in the face, right? So you don't do that. So in martial arts, if they're thinking you have to stay here so you don't compromise your line and get kicked in the head, that's not a rule in boxing, right? So you're free to bring your weight to the front foot, okay? And we're going to pay attention to that real quick, actually. If you look at Larry Holmes' technique, when he shoots his right hand, he's getting planted on the back foot here, and then he transfers his weight to the front foot, right? Signified by this line here. His heel is here, his knee is here, and now his head is here. That means all his weight is on this front foot, right? He didn't take that shuffle and jump over there, right? He just moved his head there. Now, I'm going to connect some dots really quick, because what he's looking to do, even though taking the step is correct, right? He doesn't need to take this step here. He can just throw the right hand and keep his foot there, right? But because he's trying to keep his legs straight, he's not allowing himself to transfer his weight into that position, okay? Let me show you what I mean. So he's taking the step, right? So when you're here in this position, your opponent's foot is on the line. He's taking the step, right? But he's trying to maintain this stance of standing straight up. So he brings this foot with him so he can throw this shot, right? But what he doesn't realize, he can just transfer his weight forward and throw the right hand like a boxer, right? As we can clearly see Larry Holmes doing. He's here in this neutral position, and when he gets his weight into that punch, he's transferring all his weight into this line here, and that's what allows him to get his opponent's target, right? To get his opponent's head into that zone above the right shoulder, right? So Cook thinks he has to do it by getting here and stepping, right? Whereas my boxing theory, most boxers understand, right? Well, my boxing theory, this is how we teach it on Patreon. Now, quick commercial, right? If you're interested in learning these things, and stay tuned. At the end of the video, we're going to be showing one of my patrons and his boxing and some of the shadow boxing drills, and then one of the matches that he has to kind of show you guys, what I'm talking about positions and stuff. And you can see that clearly Fouts Boxing Theory works, right? So for all of you guys that are in the comments saying, well, where's your fighters? Well, where's your guys? Well, I'll show you guys. He's here. Now, shout out to my boy Dan Hatzar. Yo! Great fight. So he's just not recognizing that he doesn't need to bring his leg with him, okay? Now, what I want to talk about, now there's nothing wrong with this, right? But what does it look like if you want to throw a left hand, right? It looks very similar, right, to this. You would imagine step over, punch, step over, punch, step over, punch. So in my boxing theory and the way that I teach boxing on Patreon, this was one of the very, very first drills that we ever did on Patreon. Okay? I transfer all my weight to my right side. I throw my left hand. Okay? And now I'm going to do the Marvin Cook thing here. This is how he says to throw your punches. But you bring your weight to the left side and you bring your leg with you, right? And that allows you to learn to transition your weight, okay? This is a video on my channel. It's one of the last few videos I put out. It's called How to Develop One-Punch Knockout Power. This is a very, very basic drill that we practice to learn power and to teach technique. And to learn to transfer our weight at a beginner's level, okay? So, no offense to Marvin Cook, right? The fact that he learned that this is the zone you want to put your opponent's head in when you smash it, right, is phenomenal. Not very many people get to solve a piece of striking theory, right? If you want all the pieces, check out my Patreon. I know everything there is to know about striking, setting up your punches, feinting, probing. Check out my channel. It's a who's who of boxing content and high-level boxing content that all the other boxing channels are trying to emulate. Okay, I don't watch other people's boxing content. Everyone's just borrowing from mine. So if you want it from the source, come check out my channel or check out my Patreon. Again, stay tuned at the end, you guys. There's gonna be some fighting. It's dope, man. What am I talking about? Oh, so again, this is a very basic striking drill that you practice on the heavy bag, and you're practicing it exactly how Marvin Cook is doing it here. You bring your weight all the way to one side. You have this line, right? And then to the other side, right? It's exactly the same. And then as you get better and better at this drill and transferring your weight and practicing it, and now I'll show you it's the footwork in the drill. It's the same, right? It's the same thing that Marvin Cook is doing. You bring your leg with you, right? A striking drill, right? Now, what happens when you get good at it? What do you look like? Well, this is what you get when you get good at this drill. This is what you look like. You realize that you can generate the same power without bringing your leg with you, right? And that allows you to stay in that same position, right? And cross your opponent's line. Now, again, you don't have to bring your leg with you, right? To generate the power. Your weight still gets here. Your weight still gets to the back foot. Your weight still gets to the front foot. You're still getting there. But now you can transition your weight and throw counter punches, right? Defend the line, whatever you want to do. But you don't have to reposition after you get here to get back to here, right? Which is what Marvin Cook suggests after you just put yourself in this position, right? Maybe you landed a right hand, but also, again, you're in your opponent's wheelhouse. You're about to get destroyed. So, let's see. Now, again, practicing the two positions, right? Practicing fighting off of the front foot. Practice fighting off of the back foot. Again, this is just directly from my video where I break down all of this stuff. Again, check out my Patreon. It's $20 to sign up, $20 a month. And I do personalized film study of your heavy bag work, your shadow boxing, any drills that you're working, any drills that I give you. I will watch and review and teach you how to get better. Personalized. And if you want it to be private, it can be private as well. I'm also going to be starting to do Zoom sessions to help with coaching and teaching people. And it's a lot of fun. So, and the people are great and getting really, really good. So you'll see at the end of the video. It's dope. Actually, you know what? Shit, I think we're at the end of the video. No, let's watch him hit this guy again. So again, the idea, he happens to wind up in a bladed stance sometimes, right? But he's not putting himself in that position except for by accident, right? By punching, right? It's like happenstance. That's the position that he winds up being in when he throws a good shot, right? But again, that's not what's going on here, right? Throwing hooks, controlling his opponent, smashing through. But again, when he crosses that line, he can just bring his weight right back to the back foot, right? He doesn't have to worry about repositioning. He doesn't have to give his opponent a two beat head start trying to get back on the line with that shoulder, right? But again, just wanted to reiterate, that's a very basic striking drill, right? You can use it if you want to practice that style of fighting or whatever. Practice that as a way to transition and learn transitioning your weight, because I don't think he's doing the drill correctly, because he's a big dude. He should be hitting way harder than that. He should be hitting really, really, really hard. But yeah, practice it as a drill, okay? It's not a style, right? That's not how you want to cross the line. And again, you don't have to bring your leg with you. You can just move into that position if you bend your leg, right? And get your weight into that position. Now, we're going to show my guy Dan Hatzar here. He's going to be doing some shadow boxing, and he's just practicing some pendulum steps and controlling the line and transferring his weight and going from position 1 to position 2 and controlling the line as he gets there, right? Now, you're going to say, oh, is this boxing? How could this guy even fight, right? No, I don't know what you're going to say, because he looks pretty damn good to me. He's doing excellent work. He's got excellent positions, excellent weight transitions. He's never losing control of his body. Every position he looks to put himself into, he's exactly in the position he wants to be. And that's the idea that you want to drive home, right? Are you getting into the positions that you want, right? So, we're going to take a look. We're going to go look at some film of him. Now, this is a fight that he had like a couple weeks ago. He did get a draw, I'll say. He did get a draw, but I think he dominated the guy. So this is the first round. It's going to start. I'm going to show only the first 18 seconds, and then I'll show some highlights. But here he is, immediately coming out and controlling the lead hand. Now, this guy had a massive weight advantage against him, an age advantage, height advantage, and he couldn't seem to find him. You know, he does land a couple punches, a couple pretty good shots, but you can see my guy has complete control of the line all the time. His weight transitions, he's never out of position. His balance is perfect. The guy can't find him with the shot, right? He's controlling him, catches him with an uppercut there. Peeling off the line, that missed. He can throw whatever he wants against this guy, and then getting pushed off his line, penduluming back and setting up a shot with an uppercut. Just excellent body mechanics, man. Excellent, excellent work here. Now we're going to look at some highlights. Some really cool stuff. Controlling the line, and look at his opponent try to come in. He's like, oh, I see weakness, right? I'm going to time him. I'm going to get him. He didn't realize, boom, that he was getting set up for a trap, and he lands an excellent shot here. Just beautiful work controlling the line, pushing the bigger dude off of him, and then setting up an excellent left hand, or excellent right hand. Just beautiful work, Dan. Beautiful, beautiful work. Come on. Was my thing freezing? Another one here. Excellent pendulum step back. His much larger opponent gets lead foot dominance on him. He's easily able to get off the line here, bring his weight to the back foot away from that shot, and land an excellent right uppercut again, walking him right into the same shot he was setting up in round 1, 20 seconds into the fight. I think he just decimated this guy. You know, he landed so many great shots. Again, great work, Dan. Great, great, great work. We got a couple more clips, a couple more traps. Excellent moving on the front foot, getting control of the space between them, right? And then boom, timing him perfectly on the front foot as he looks to intercept Dan on the front foot, right? Excellent trap, lands a good left hand. And the guy, again, can't find him. He has no idea where he is. And excellent defensive responsibility at the end from Dan, getting off the line and controlling the line, boom, with his lead hand as he peels. Excellent work, excellent work. I think we got one more. Controlling the line, getting to the front foot. Ooh, excellent defense. Just excellent, excellent work. Controlling the line, getting his shots off, controlling the line, off the line, under the hook, and then, you know, controlling his body, moving into him. And then, you know, he misses the uppercut, but man, it was actually a really, really great fight. If you guys want to catch it on Patreon. Now, Dan's been a patron of mine for, like 9 months or something, 10 months, something like that. I'm not sure. He sends in videos every once in a while, usually sparring and stuff. Excellent fight. I don't know why they couldn't just give him the win. I thought he dominated the fight. He had control of the line most of the fight. The guy couldn't find him. He had no idea where Dan was going to be, and Dan could just let punches go whenever he wanted. He just, you owned him, bro. You owned him. All right. So again, if you're interested, personalized coaching, check it out in my Patreon. Learn to control the line. Learn to set up traps. Learn about position 1 and position 2, and learn how those positions relate to your opponents, right? You cannot just have a boxing stance that doesn't take into account your opponent's fighting style, right? And if you're going to be a real fighter, right? I mean, are you always going to assume that your opponent's always going to stay in a bladed stance just because you do? Anyway, check out my Patreon. Thanks, guys.